Hey, do you have a barky dog? Do you have a barky dog on your walks? So what are they trying to tell you? Do you know? Are they scared or are they frustrated because they want to go say hello? So, so I wanted to share with you a story today because the last couple of months I have shared a free resource, a free guide for pet parents out there for dogs, that may not be walking so well with you. So I wanted to teach a couple of techniques to help you and your dog walk without pulling. Now, since I've introduced that to you all, I think it's been at least 4 months. I've gotten some feedback in some follow-up sessions. I also gave you a couple of free, like in-person and online sessions to come talk to me about the information I shared in the guides. So one of the feedback I was getting back was that, yeah, it's working. They are checking in with me. They are love hanging out near me. And, I can get them to disengage from a lot of the things in the environment. But man, there are some things they just won't listen to me. They just keep lunging and barking, maybe even spinning around, whining at that particular trigger. And so, what you're teaching is not working for us. And so I understand that. And in last Tuesday's live, I talked about, helping your dog because they're emotionally so overwhelmed, whether it's because of excitement or because they're worried about that particular trigger. Um, I shared with you that you may have to do some disengagement games with them, helping them change their emotional like response to that particular trigger. And so today I'm continuing to talk about this, and I wanted to share a story about this morning. So, and I've used Frank. Frank is one of my demo dogs. It's a fake dog that I use for those dogs that get triggered by seeing other dogs on their walks, and that tends to be their like the big trigger on their walks. So let me just show you a quick video of what he looks like. So it's a fake dog. It's a Jack Russell Terrier, and it's the size of my like 16, 17-pound dogs. And so what I use him for is at the distance where the pet parent and I think the dog will not overreact. And sometimes it's a hit or miss, and we have to kind of practice. You have to kind of just try it out. And like this morning, it was in the front yard. They have a fence in front yard. It was at the we were at the front door area, and then I placed a dog. It was almost a distance of maybe 2 car lengths away, right? And at first, their dog didn't notice it, but the second he noticed it, he started barking and lunging at it. So we all of a sudden realized, oh my gosh, that's too close. So we talked about, okay, so this is not the right distance. We need to pull him back, ask him to come back to you, maybe like a foot or so, away from Frank, my demo dog. And so desensitizing. So we worked with, this particular dog and helping him look away from the dog and instead of barking and lunging at the dog. And we found the right distance to do that. So why do I use a fake dog? Because a lot of times, I've talked to you about, having a dog out in the front yard or in a, kind of a not so busy area in your neighborhood and watch the world go by. But sometimes the humans need to practice their mechanics. And, it's great people are walking by with their dogs, but, as the humans, as the newly, the new dog owner or someone that hasn't done this as much as I have, you got to figure out the right distance, but then how do you get your dog's attention, right? And we can talk about it when it's not so overwhelming for the dog. But when it's in the moment, the human kind of loses it and resorts to what they've done before. So, did you hear me? So, the humans, in the overexcitement of the scenario, in the real life scenario, sometimes they panic and resort to what they were doing before, like telling the dog to quiet, shut up, come over here, and it doesn't work, right? So, so again, the dog is also in the same mindset. They are panicking, they can't think, and they just resort to what they know will maybe get rid of that trigger, which is bark and lunge at, right? And so this is again for the dog who's scared of their trigger. Not necessarily yeah, we can work with a dog that's like, frustrated because they can't go say hello. In that case, we help the dog learn to self-calm, okay? But in most cases, I use Frank most of the time because the dog is scared of other dogs. That's when I use Frank a lot. So, does that make sense to you? Do you have that dog that screams at other dogs on your walks? And otherwise, they can be really good at walking with you, right? So, so for the human's sake, I want to set up scenarios where you can practice getting your dog to disengage, practicing disengagement games, right? And to help them desensitize. So, more exposure to this Frank, and maybe in different locations. Now, eventually, we want the dog to be able to get closer and closer to the dog, and that's what we did this morning. I kind of weaved the dog back and forth in front of the other dog until we got closer and closer. And then we went off on a walk, and then we came back, and we introduced him back to Frank in the front yard again, and until we got close enough where he was not barking and lunging, and he could go up to Frank and go smell him. And then he realizes, oh, it's not a real dog. But up till then, he was kind of wary about Frank. So so, does that make sense? I would like for you to maybe set up situations where you can practice with, if it's a person, if it's people that your dog is worried about. So, getting people to just stand there, right, without moving as you're practicing the right kind of distance and helping your dog maybe like be less worried about it with the desensitization games and disengagement games, right? So it helps you learn the mechanics. So you don't resort to, in your panic mode, the old stuff you do to get your dog out of there, right? So I hope this tip was helpful. And if you need, help with your particular dog, I can help you both in person. I do work with in private sessions, but only about maybe 10 to 15 miles from me in Costa Mesa. And I do have group classes. But if your dog is over the top, screaming at other dogs, group classes may not be the right way to start, right? Or online if you're not in the area, or if you think your dog is too reactive to even humans, I can work with you online. So give me a call, give me a text. You can DM me to ask me how else I can help you and your dog. All right. Thank you for joining me for my Training Tip Tuesday. And you know what? I think I forgot to introduce myself. So my name is Linda Kwan. I am the owner and trainer at Wow Bow Wow. I help pet parents understand their dogs, so training them becomes easier. I help the pet parents raise a well-adjusted dog that can like live in our community, in our world, without being more confident, right? Being less worried about what's going on in their environment. And so, they can also raise a well-behaved dog. So I hope this training tip was helpful, and I will see you next Tuesday.